John Gill, Nahum chapter 3, verse 10. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains." Unquote. John Gill, quote, "Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity, not by Nebuchadnezzar, though the city was afterwards taken and its inhabitants carried captive by that monarch, as was foretold, Jeremiah 46, verse 25. But the prophet here does not predict an event to be accomplished, an instance in that, and argued from it, which could have no effect on Nineveh and its inhabitants, or be an example or terror to them, but refers to what had been done, a recent fact, and which they were well acquainted with. Ibn Ezra says, "This city, No, was a city of the land of Egypt, which the king of the Chaldeans took as he went to Nineveh. But then, and by whom it was taken, it is nowhere said. According to Bishop Usser and Dean Prexit, that's Prideaux, the destruction of the city of Thebes, that's Thebes, was by Sennacherib in his expedition against Egypt, which he harassed for 3 years together from one end to the other, by which time Sevechus, the son of Sabacon, or So, the Ethiopian, was king of Egypt. And Egypt and Ethiopia were as one country and helped each other, but could not secure the city from falling into the hands of Sennacherib about 3 years before he besieged Jerusalem. And so, according to Mr. Wisdom, it was destroyed 3 years before the army of Sennacherib was destroyed at Jerusalem. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets, against the walls of the houses, or upon the stones and pavements of the streets, which cruelties were often used by conquerors upon innocent babies as the sacking of cities." Psalms 137, verse 9. "And they cast lots for her honorable men. The soldiers did who should have them and sell them for slaves, which was done without regard to their birth or breeding." Joel chapter 3, verse 3. "And all her great men were bound in chains." As nobles may be meant by honorable men or great men, may be designed the Gentile merchants and others. These were taken and bound in iron chains, handcuffed and pinioned, and so led captive into a foreign land. And Nineveh might expect the same treatment. Unquote. Scripture quote, "Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity. Her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains." Unquote. End of John Gill, Nahum chapter 3, verse 10.